Good morning, Philippines, and good evening, U.S., and a big mabuhay around the world. I think I got it right this time. Boy, my eyes look tired, but I figured I'd do a live cast. You can see that it's sunny out there. It's been raining here in the Philippines. And the clouds have moved back into BGC. We're coming live, I haven't mentioned it before, from the great Bonifacio Global City in BGC, right outside of Makati in Manila. So, yeah, the weather's been a little hit or miss lately, kind of rainy. And I don't know how many people would be around anyway because, outside, I should say, because of the coronavirus. Everyone's kind of, taking it easy. But in any event, what I wanted to cover today is breaking up with your Filipina girlfriend. I can't break up with my wife. Although, we have our moments, but I know there'll be some foreigners and out there, and they're looking for a Filipina girlfriend, or maybe they broke up with their Filipina girlfriend. And I thought I'd give some expertise as far as I can see, my sort of conceptual understanding or viewpoint or views, or whatever you want to call it. How things can turn bad between a Filipina and a foreigner. I mean, relationships between men and women are tough enough, and then you got the whole cultural thing. Yeah, got all this kind of stuff going on. Oh, where do I take this? From the first place. So, this isn't just about breaking up. Although, as Neil Sedaka used to say, breaking up is hard to do. I don't even know how many people know that song, but I know some Filipinas know that song, and Filipinos, because they just love singing karaoke. And that's the truth. They know American classic songs. But anyway, yeah, the first thing that I would say that really probably breaks people up, in relationships is really the cultural differences. There's a lot of misperceptions, misconceptions, misperceptions. I can tell I'm tired. That go on, especially when you have these long distance relationships, and people, have, sort of connected very quickly, and they're not kind of used to each other. And then you have to handle all these kind of difficulties and problems. And then you also have communication differences, as I should say, differences. Western culture is different than Asian and Filipino culture. And so what will happen is that when the Western guy kind of meets this beautiful Filipina, and they're delightful, they're beautiful, and they can speak English, you necessarily think they communicate the same as a Western girl, and that's not the case. Wrong. So, the Philippines is a really interesting mix of, Western culture going back to the Spanish colonization, American colonization, and the Filipino culture. They just love, being hip. We would call it hip. I don't even know what you call it today, sort of being at the forefront of culture, understanding what's going on. And so, appearance-wise, and the way they talk, because they know English, they'll give sort of the appearance, because they know the idioms, they can talk and all this other stuff, that they communicate like a Western girl. And that's further from the truth. And so the one thing that drives American men crazy, and has driven me crazy, is this thing called tempo. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but it's close enough. And, we're taught in Western culture early on, not to pout, or do anything like that. And Filipinas will pout. And depending on the girl, they'll pout a lot or a little. And, basically, it doesn't mean anything. Okay. So for a Filipino guy, when the girl pouts, they just kind of laugh and they go, "Oh, okay, honey, okay." And they leave her alone, and everything's okay. But for a Western guy, after it happens a few times, you're kind of like, "Hey, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it! You're a baby, you're a baby, stop!" And they'll do this at the most inopportune times, like in the middle of airports, doctor appointments, especially if like you kind of raise your voice and go, come on, hurry up. And they're like, you embarrassed me. And they'll go, and hey, you will just get like, you'll go a little crazy about it, and the best thing to do is just to walk away. Trust me, the best thing to do. Otherwise, you just make the situation worse. Basically, they're just telling you that they've been insulted or they're embarrassed or they're upset. And you'll see this in other Asian cultures too. When there's a lot of noise made or people notice you, they'll get immediately embarrassed. And so what you have to do is just kind of smile and go, okay. If you get that upset by it, just take a chill pill, walk away or something like that. The worst thing you can do is keep talking to her or getting upset because she won't come out of the tempo. And you'll hear a lot of Filipinas go, no, don't pressure her. Let her have her time. Let her have her time. Don't let her force her to come out of her feelings early. So, like in Western culture, we're kind of taught, but there's still people that do it, have pouting and stuff. We just go, hey, knock it off, and it's the best thing to do is just let it go. And usually, what we used to call it is a tempest in a teapot. It just kind of blows over. You just kind of walk away, and just deal with that. But tempo tends to really, really annoy Western men. It annoys me. And my wife, why do you care? I'm just getting a little annoyed. It's just like, yeah, but it's so it just gets down your nerves. The best thing to do is either you comfort them, then you put your arm around them, or you just kind of go, okay. And of course, within this, all the Filipinas are different, but I would say that can lead to a breakup. Depending on the Filipina. I forgot to put my light on, but on the Filipina or the relationship in general. That's one thing. On the other hand, for the Filipina, when the Western guy really doesn't respect them and is too noisy or loud or rude, that would be considered rude for them. So even jokes that would be considered okay in the West, here are considered very poor taste. Or if you kind of force someone to do something, they'll do the tempo or something, and that's considered, rude on your half. So if you do that too often, the girl, she'll try to adapt to it, but it'll kind of, it's going to make for friction. It's going to make the relationship rough. And so the best thing to do is just, kind of bite your tongue and be quiet and, kind of go, yeah, okay. But that's the thing, and that's that you have to be, as a Western guy, if you don't really want to have too much trouble, you have to kind of like deal with this sensitivity issue. And Filipinas tend to, and of course, this all depends on the Filipina. They're all different. Some tend to be more sensitive than others, but generally they're pretty sensitive, and you have to kind of just deal with that and not, overreact when they get upset or something like that. You just kind of just laugh about it, and see. And the other thing too is that, in a way, it's kind of like dealing with a caged lion. It's kind of like you don't know when they're really going to get upset. And so, the Filipino men, when they sense like something like, there's going to be a problem or, the woman's really kind of upset, they don't even talk to them, And this is from years of research. You know, I used to ask my students that were Filipinos, I go, I need to know. I need to know what happens. The secret life of Filipinos. And they really won't talk about this stuff too much, you know. They won't go into it, you know. And the Filipino men will just kind of like, you know, just go away. And they'll let the whole situation go, you know, settle down. And usually it doesn't take that long, but the men will go away. But I've heard this, and someone, you know, can put it in the comment section below, that you have to come home that night. I've never like really, you know, stayed away or something, but I heard all the kids say, but you better come home if you go out. And I've heard this on multiple occasions, okay? I've never tested the theory, but or the warning, or whatever you want to call it. But for the most part, you know, that's what the Filipino men do. They kind of just laugh about it and they just blow off the steam. That's what occurs most of the time, you know. But what's really interesting, and maybe some of the Western men have also come across this, and I got in trouble for this too. When I used to have Filipina colleagues, you know, I brought this up. I go, yeah, you know, some Filipinas are very, very stubborn, and depending on the girl, you know, they'll say something like, well, I didn't like what you said about us. And I'm like, it's true. And what I mean by that, now I got the warning. Okay, I got the warning from God. From God. Meaning when I was going to get married, right? We had to go for that prenuptial, whatever, I don't know, whatever they call it, right? And the Indian priest, and I forget where he was from, Mumbai or something like that. He talked to me, and he said it right in front of Priscilla. He said, Filipino women do not listen. They're stubborn. And he said it. And he goes, when they get older, they kind of mellow out. But when they're younger, man, they don't listen to anyone. I was like, well, I don't know about that. It doesn't seem like that's true. And then I got married, and it was true. When Filipinas get something in their head and they're going to do it, they are going to do it. Okay? And it's almost impossible to stop. It's like a force of nature. You know, and there are certain things you just aren't going to change about them. Now, of course, it depends on the individual, but a lot of Filipinas are extremely firm in what they're going to do, and they're going to do it. And to try to prevent them, oh man, it's a problem. And the only way you can really try to prevent them, you have two choices. You do a direct confrontation, or you kind of do like a suggested why this is a bad idea. The direct confrontation often doesn't go very well. They take it as an insult, and you're being rude or whatever, and they'll wind up doing it anyway. The best thing to do is to really sit, kind of go, well, I don't know. This could happen. This could be bad. I don't know. Maybe we should do this instead. And then they'll sit back. This is I've seen this in action. Okay, this is my field work. I've seen this in action, right? So if you do the frontal confrontation where you say, no, don't like they'll get upset. If you kind of do it, no, well, it's a bad idea, and then you just kind of walk away. You'll see them think about it, right? And they'll go, like after a few minutes, they'll go, yeah, I think you're probably right. It's the funniest thing ever. So, I mean, if you're dealing with a Filipino and you don't want them to do something, it's kind of like you have to do like a counseling call and kind of go, well, I don't know about that, and you kind of just, leave it alone and see what happens, But if you're really, the best way to deal with a Filipina, if they do something you don't like, the best thing to do is to go for a walk or not to talk. And they get the message right away, okay? and let them think about it. That's really the best thing. The best thing is not to talk to them about it. It's not to say anything. It's just basically not to say anything, because that's how, Asian culture is. When you're upset about something, you don't talk about it. Okay. Confrontation is often bad in Asian culture. Yeah, it means that you want to fight, or like you're getting everyone stirred up, and they don't know how to handle it. They really don't. Okay, so in Western culture, you can come up and say, "Hey, man, I didn't like that." For the Asian individual, that's like you're insulting them. You want to like direct confrontation. You want to fight with them. The best way is not to talk, and that's how they settle things. You just don't talk, and then after a grace period, an appropriate grace period, it just kind of all dissipates. It's kind of like a storm, and it kind of the clouds and the wind come, and it's all gone, and then it's over. But like, in Western culture, we got this thing. Let's talk about it. Nah, it doesn't work out too good. Okay, it's mainly, you just kind of go, no, I'm upset. You just kind of like walk away from it, and they'll think about it, and they'll come back to you, and then, maybe you say a few words or something like that. But in my opinion, and this is, from my years of study, there is really no middle ground in a relationship with a Filipina. There isn't like there's not too much compromise that goes on. It's either yes or no when you talk about something, and then when you try to tell them that no, we can do a little bit of that, they go, nope, it's either this or that, yes or no, black or white. It's just the way it is. So, you'll get into a disagreement or something, and you'll say something. Oh, well, but it's okay. We can do, maybe a little bit of this, or nope. Either we do it or don't do it. It's either positive and negative, yes or no, black or white. It just seems that that's kind of the way it is. And most of the time, if you kind of make a big deal about it or really confront it, it just gets even worse. It just turns into like it just makes the situation so much worse. And, even today I have to tell myself, just walk away. Just, it's not worth it. Let them go. Let them do what they got to do. And then just go away, and, you can, when they get upset, the best, like I said, the best thing to do is to let it dissipate, just let it go. They just get really emotional about things, and they can't, they really don't know what's going on. But it's best to let them calm down. You come back, 15, 20 minutes later or something like that, because you can't really reason, when the Filipina is really upset, there's no real reasoning that goes on. It's all emotion. And so you just have to kind of walk away from it. That's the best way to diffuse and solve the problem. In Western culture, we're kind of taught, like, the more we talk it out, the more we become diplomatic, we'll diffuse the situation. But in my experience, the more talking you do with a Filipina, when it's a kind of a difficult situation, the more it escalates the situation. It goes, shh, they go, what? They go, what? Then you got the language barrier that kicks in, and half the things you say they don't really know, or they're so upset they don't even know what the heck you're saying, and that just makes it even worse. It's best to like in boxing, you go to your neutral corners and let everything settle down. And that's really the best thing to do. And take it easy. The other thing is really eye contact. Okay. And so if you get into a disagreement, don't make eye contact. In the West, when you're talking to someone, you're taught to look them straight in the eye. We want to know straight in the eye. But for a Filipino or Asian, to look someone straight in the eye means you want to fight. You're not respecting them. You want to fight. So you often notice in Asian culture, they'll never look you straight in the eye. And for Americans, it's like, why are you not looking us straight in the eye? So that's all that goes back to the confrontation thing. They're always, they look to the side or like this, especially when the situation is heated. They won't look you straight in the face, right? So it's best not to look them straight in the face too, because it gets them all revved up. It's like they think there's, you're really angry or something like that. Especially if you raise your voice, okay? So if you raise your voice a little bit, they get really, really upset and emotional about it, because in Asian culture, to raise your voice and stuff means you're really, really angry. Because most of the time, if you're just a little angry in Asian culture, you kind of just become quiet. You become quiet and you walk away and just go in your own little space. And people in Asia, when they see you upset, they'll kind of just leave you alone. Okay? Unlike America, where they'll come over, what's wrong? What's wrong? They're just going to go, the person needs it. Time out. Time out. So, I hope this, is helping a little bit, so you got the language barrier, the cultural barrier, and really the best thing to do is just take a time out and take it easy. And just kind of let the situation diffuse, and it will, but my experience is the more you talk or, get angry, the situation just erupts. It becomes, more, more upsetting. And, when it's really not, most of the time, it's really not that big of a deal. Talking and raising your voice and stuff, even if it's just a minor issue, makes the situation worse. It's better just to kind of just walk away. It's tough for a Western guy to do that because we're taught to, express ourselves. Well, if it's not out of control, not to go crazy or something. Just say, yeah, man, that's BS. Come on, knock it off, But that just makes it the situation. Even that minor kind of expression makes it worse. You just walk away and go to your, walk away and do your own thing and just like, I've had it, And it works. It works a lot better than using your Western skills to try to fix the situation. It's better just to walk away and let it go, or we'll go outside, have a beer, come on back. And by the time you get back, everything is kind of all settled down. But there's really no real discussion that goes on most of the time, about how to stop things from happening again or arguments from happening again. It just, I don't know. It doesn't really enter the conversation too much. It's more of just, okay, it's over with. Let's just keep going. Okay. I mean, move on, that's just kind of the way the culture is and moving on to something else, so I don't know, but you are going to run into the Filipina stubbornness factor. I'm going to tell you. And it's and that's why too, I think a certain extent that older men do better with Filipinas because they're older and they've been, they have experience. They've been around the block a few times and they're kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. And they just walk away or they let the Filipina do whatever she wants to do. And they kind of don't, they're older. They can't really put up a fight or they just kind of, I don't care. And, they just kind of let it go, but I think as, when you're younger, I think with Western men, you get more of this culture clash going on. And the best thing to do is really just to walk away from it, and don't talk about it another time or, I mean, you can even try to write notes and leave the notes there and stuff like that. But the best thing is not really to raise your voice or anything like that. It's just kind of to walk away. That way just kind of makes things much worse. And what you'll find out, I think, with a lot of Filipinas is they'll have little, they have little emotional outbursts. They have little temper tantrums. I guess we'd call them in the West where they go, I don't like that. They'll do something like that or stomp their feet. I don't like that. I don't like that. And that's just the way they've been raised to express their dissatisfaction with something. That's just the way they're raised, and that's the way they're going to act a little bit. And the best thing is just like, okay, whatever, just walk away. Most Filipino men would just laugh. They just laugh at it. Whatever. That's because they're that's their culture. But for Western men, the best thing is to kind of laugh at it too, and just kind of just let it run its course. They get angry. They got a little temper flare, kind of like a sun flare, like, and it kind of just goes right back down, and it's over with. But the more you talk about it, it's kind of like when you have when you're picking a scab or something. The more you pick at it, and the more you ask about it, the worse it gets. Let them have their little temper tantrum and just be like, okay, whatever, and just move on. That's really the best way of handling it. There's real no discussion about it. It's basically in my interpretation of Filipino culture, basically, is that people kind of like get fed up with each other, and there's a little, quietness, or maybe, a little bit of a dispute or a little bit of yelling, and then the whole thing just settles down and they move on until they get tired of each other again, or tired of the situation, and one of them says something, there's a little bit of a fight, and then they just move on. There's real no Western talking, like, how we can resolve this or stop this from happening again. It's just pretty much you just deal with it, and then there's a little bit of a fight, or kind of a discussion, and then the whole thing just settles down, and you just keep going. That's just the way it seems to work. So I would just, and the more that you kind of like discuss it or try to change it, the more problems you're going to have. That just seems like the way it is, So for the foreigner, I think that, there probably are a lot of breakups with Filipinas, because I think the Filipina and is misunderstood, right? The old song, "Don't let me be misunderstood." And what the Filipinos say all the time, "You don't understand me." And you'll see Filipinos say that. And a lot of it is just acting. A lot of it is just like they need to get that out of their system, and that's how they express themselves. Because Filipinos just can't say, "I'm angry about something. This is aggravating me. This is BS." They just can't say that. So what they'll do instead is like mope, or they'll do their little temper tantrum or something like that. And that's how they are able to express their dissatisfaction. Or they'll wake up and they'll get a little angry about something. And the worst thing you can do is try to really, say something when they have their back up or their temper up. Because that's just the way they are. There's no talking to them when their temper's up. So it's better just to kind of walk away or something. Easier said than done. All this is easier said than done. But they are, loving women, beautiful women. And, to me, in Western culture, they act more like Spanish or Italian women, except for the whole Asian thing, like, no staring and raising a voice or something like that. So it's a very curious mix of Asian and Western culture. And the best thing to do is to know that they love you, they care for you. But there are some things about Filipinas that are just going to drive you crazy. But I mean, hey, what relationship doesn't? What, man and women, they've been doing this forever. Can't live with them, can't live without them. So I hope for all you gentlemen out there, maybe some Filipinas, although Filipinas don't really watch too many of these dating videos as far as I can tell. The best thing to do with the Filipina is to really know they love you and not take anything too seriously, to kind of walk away from it and just laugh about it. And that there are going to be some little spats most of the time. And you just kind of, you get your little argument through and just move on. And that's the best way of handling it. And when you want to show dissatisfaction, Just go out yourself, walk out the door, and they'll get the message. And it's communicated a lot better than if you talk. If you sit there and try to, explain what you're upset about, it's just they don't. It doesn't really register in any shape, way, or form. It's better just to walk away or become quiet, and they get the message. And usually, it's a self-correcting issue where that's how you communicate that you're upset with something, is becoming quiet or walking out, and they'll get the message. When you do a direct confrontation, it just it gets a little crazy. They're not used to that. So it just, you kind of get up, you just kind of walk out or become quiet or walk away, and they'll get the message and they'll come back and they'll try to stop what they're doing. But I'm just going to tell you, when they get something in their head, well, oh man, they just want to get something, they're going to do it, and that way they remind me a lot of Italian women that, I kind of knew growing up. I'm not Italian, but we had a lot of Italians in our neighborhood. The same kind of like, I'm going to clean all day, do work all day, do this all day. And that's just kind of the way they are. So that in Western culture, I would attribute them more to like Italian women. I don't know too many Spanish women, but a Spanish Latina or an Italian woman, more of that kind of Mediterranean kind of culture where they're hot and cold, kind of very loving, but very emotional at the same time. And so I would think that that's kind of what you get with the Filipina, but you get that little Asian spice thing thrown in, and that can just throw you a curveball. Okay. So the best thing to do is just kind of like take it easy, walk away. And a lot of times, hey, it's easy. Just walk away. You don't got to say anything. The hardest part is not saying anything, because that's not the way a Western guy or an American guy is brought up. And then when you think about it, it's a lot easier than saying anything. You just go, I'm pissed off. I'm going to take a chill. And the situation kind of resolves itself on its own. And they, Filipinos love you. They care for you. They'll do almost anything for you. And so, this is kind of those little humps in the road that, in bumps and whatever you want to call it, that you kind of work through and put up with when you deal with, interracial, intercultural marriages and all these. But, hey, men and women, it's like oil and water, but somehow it works. I'll see you guys later. You're out there, enjoy your Saturday night. If you're out there looking for a beautiful Filipina, I hope you're online. I've done a video on that, so please check that. And I keep forgetting. I keep waking up. Please subscribe to our channel. Please, I should say it a little more often during my talks. Please subscribe to our channel and press that like button. We're trying to get up to that 1,000, that magic 1,000 number. We make a little bit of money. So please do that. I really appreciate that, for our time. I still have to get the Patreon button up there. But, I hope, you value our channel and our opinions. And I hope that somehow it helps something and it all works out. So have a great Saturday night, everybody. If you're a member of the Lonely Hearts Club or not, I wish you luck. Have a great Saturday night nonetheless. And I'll see you next time. Take care. And please hit that subscribe button for all things Filipino. Big mabuhay around the world. Salamat po. See you later.